Hello, my name is Carl Freeman, and I'm here to provide a recommendations report for Verizon Communications Incorporated, better known as Verizon Wireless. We'll be reviewing over the findings that we've concluded to provide towards the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats of the company, and then provide meaningful recommendations that can help profitability and the corporate social responsibility. Excuse me. One of the first things we want to highlight is the actual strengths of the company. It is known that Verizon puts a lot of investment within its human capital, and it shows in different ways. One thing that we can see on this table here is that Verizon does pay more averagely for its normal frontline employee or customer service representative. It also provides more PTO in less time than the other competitors. It may not be a lot, but it's significant enough to where the work-life balance that's promised within their credo is reflected, and their values are shown by actions with their employees. How does this affect as a strength, though, is definitely shown within the customer service model or the efficiencies model that we see. So Verizon, not necessarily being number one, has always still been a top-tier customer service company, is given by J.D. Power. The results here even show that Verizon's remained as the top two year over year and hasn't necessarily fallen too far behind of T-Mobile. One thing that we do want to pay attention to in numbers like this is that Verizon has a far larger customer service base. Therefore, that average is going to be skewed purely just by the numbers of it. We're going to have less data from T-Mobile than we do from Verizon. So even though it looks as if Verizon's in just a second place, hands down, top tier customer service company for the size of it. And that's not what's being judged necessarily here, but definitely reflective when you start looking at the overall customer base volume. When we start to dive into weaknesses, we see a couple different things that can cause a weakness for Verizon Wireless. Culture being one of them, and that's the change in culture. Verizon just recently had a CEO change and a leadership change, who came with a background from a previous company called Ericsson, which wasn't necessarily the most positive background, and kind of created some resistance within the organization itself as they chose the new face. This Hans Vestberg was his name, Hans Vestberg, to be the face of the company. Hans, when he came in, offered what's called the Voluntary Separation Package, or VSP, if you look it up through different articles that announced it at the time, which reduced a large amount of the tenure. Pretty much anybody that was about 10 to 15 years in tenure or above took the separation package by choice, the company. That was to kind of rejuvenate the change of culture that Hans is trying to bring in there. But what was lost in the forefront was just these years of experience. So now you have a lot of under tenured or low tenured reps, especially in the customer service or customer facing areas, and especially within the leadership of those customer service areas. Looking at tenure rates, we see a huge drop. One of the other things that we start seeing as a weakness, as instead of replacing the headcount, when we start seeing the decrease, is this reliance on automation and outsource. So although Verizon has been decreasing its headcount year over year, biggest drop being after the upcoming of Hans Vestberg, the automation processes have slowly started to take over. This causes a new strain for the reps themselves, those customer service reps, because they're no longer taking necessarily the transaction types that they might have been used to, but they're actually working through the troubleshooting and the escalating paths of failed automation accounts that are now taking over those type of transactions. Some opportunities that we show with Verizon Wireless is just gaining a lot of that customer trust back. Verizon Wireless has been known for selling its customers' information to marketing campaigns for statistics, and then also they've had multiple data breaches. This is generally something that can come with an untrained or a new work group most of the time. Data breaches are mostly done through phishing attacks, as Verizon put in their own reports. Phishing attacks are forms of social engineering that's done by manipulating everyday reps into providing more and more information until enough account information is achieved to be able to do fraudulent activity and be successful with that. Some of the threats that we're seeing with Verizon Wireless is that Verizon is reporting a 68,000 loss of subscribers in 2020 alone, with T-Mobile purchasing Sprint and acquiring a brand new social base. T-Mobile has skyrocketed itself to be the number 2 largest retailer of, or wireless retailer within the country. So as Verizon's slowly starting to drop, you are seeing a main competitor on the rise. The other big thing is the way that the marketing is a big part of this. Though 5G is not necessarily the same when it goes to different carriers, because it does really only mean fifth generation technology, Verizon's having a hard time actually advertising the difference, the technology and the actual educational difference. People look at it as T-Mobile's able to offer the same thing in more places, which actually gives them the opportunity, or more places where Verizon is very like, it works in a very secure, large cities type of a situation. As a consumer, why would I wait to pay more to go to a 5G that's not in my city when T-Mobile offers it for less? Though again, the technology is different, it doesn't necessarily reflect in the marketing. So that kind of leads us into the bulk of it all, like as we kind of sum up the strengths and weaknesses and threats and opportunities there is given these recommendations. And truthfully, the biggest recommendation is to still focus on its people. By investing in their people now, they can win back the customer later. First thing is training and set up scenarios and practices to prevent these data leaks from occurring. If 22% of the overall data leaks have occurred due to phishing, it would be very effective to start teaching this customer base, whether it's the outsourced or internal customer or support base, to look for these. It needs to be a routine practice, and it needs to be something simple and defined that's able to actually prevent these actual events from happening. By preventing this from happening, they stop being in the news, you start to earn customers' trust. The second part of this is actually just training and education in general. If people are their main capita, as advertised within their website, they need to continue to invest in them. Employees that are working too hard or are undertrained and filling in gaps that they weren't used to is going to create burnout quickly. Better training programs and better tools to allow them to do the jobs that they need will go a long ways. By investing in their people, they're going to start seeing a stronger support model that's coming from these customer service groups, and in time they will start retaining some customers back. Those will be some key components to really help Verizon move forward and stay competitive within this market. Final thoughts that we want to just kind of revisit before we end the recommendation is just how important it is for Verizon to continue to invest in its human capital and its employees. And by showing that they're able to provide that service through their employees, a top-notch service of employees that want to be there, work hard, not burned out, and smart enough to know how to do their jobs, their customers will get trust and gain loyalty back with the company itself, and hopefully not only stop the bleeding of the loss of customers, but inevitably start winning them back. I just want to thank you for your time, and at this time, if you have any questions, please go ahead and submit them now. Thank you.